Hey folks, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to walk through my February setup and note any changes I made from January. As a reminder, I'm new to this type of budgeting and January was sort of my pilot. Spoiler alert, there was at least one update I had to make to keep me from counting expenses twice on the Paycheck Budget Tracker. I have everything ready, so grab your glasses and let's get to it. Okay. It was kind of a good thing that I was counting things twice because at the end of the paycheck budget tracker in January for the first month, I had a negative balance, which was kind of okay, but not really. So first, let's look at this one glaring thing because in the last video, which you may or may not have caught, I mentioned that I want to track the expenses as I'm making them. So I do have a credit card that I use. I will be transitioning away from using credit cards, but for now it's out there. I'm using it. It's part of my normal routine. So until I am fully away from that, it's going to be something I use and it's going to be something in my budget that I have to account for. So I was counting it on the paycheck budget tracker, but then I was also counting it as at the expense for the credit card payment. So of course that counts it twice. So I've made a few little adjustments, and what I'll do now instead is I will note my credit card um, expenses, but I'm going to put it at the end of the month review. So I'll still have it there. I'll still be able to note what should typically be a normal expense for the month, so that when I cycle away from using a credit card fairly regularly, um, I'll know really how much I need. So let's hop on in. And first I'm going to just show you the adjustment I made in case you did watch that last video and want to see what I did. And of course I'll be going over this in detail during my January closeout, which will be on February 1st. And if for those of you who did watch, you'll see that there's a big change here, but I'm going to note this when we talk about the closeout. So if we look at my January, the first paycheck, what I was doing was I was listing this actual amount and I was including everything from my trackers for both the checking and the credit card, which, as it turns out, was double counting because I also have a US bank payment here. Um, I sort of thought about it. I was thinking, well, maybe I just don't include this in all of the numbers. But then I thought, no, there's got to be a better way. So I kind of gave it some thought. And what I will do is just show what the checking account is. I'll show my payment. And then really I'm going to track the actual spending, regardless of whether it's credit or debit, at the end of the month. So on my monthly budget category breakdown for the last of the month, I'm actually going to include the credit charges and the checking account charges. Again, prepping me towards not using credit or using credit card with a combination of the sinking funds, and then making those payments at the time that I have the expense. Hope that makes sense. Happy to go over it again. If it's something that sounds interesting to you, maybe you're in the same boat I am where you're trying to figure out how do I account for my charges and my checking account expenses and actually include it in the budget. Of course, you may have already figured it out. If you have, I'm happy to hear what your solution was if it was different than mine. All right, so let's get into the February set up. Um, so I did put in my uh, expenses that get automatically drafted from my account. I added these in, but I haven't highlighted them. And the reason I did that is because while I know when electric is going to come out, I think I have received a notice saying what day of the month it's going, and the phone. It also says it's coming out on Sunday, which doesn't make any sense to me, but whatever. But I don't know for sure that these others are coming out on the days that I have listed here, particularly at the end of the month, because this is not a full cycle, that the billing cycles are usually 30 days. So I have a feeling that these bills will not come out until March. So I'm just going to leave them unhighlighted until I receive a text, and that's how I get alerted to my bills being due. Is I have all of these things automated. It texts me and tells me when the draft will come out, and then that's when I note it on my calendar. I have all paperless billing. I don't receive any physical bill in the mail. I have accounts that I have set up online, so if I do want to view something, I can just log into my account and also check it that way. So I've set this up, and I would like to point out that my daughter and I, she is in my household. She and I are going to participate in a no spend February. And I guess if you were going to pick a month to do no spend, February's it. Forget the no spend January. No, let's go no spend February. So we're going to be participating in that. And the biggest thing I'm going to focus on, I don't do a whole lot of spending anyway outside of the normal expenses, but I really need to focus on not spending when I go to I have a season tickets to a local sports team when I go to that game. I do spend a fair bit when I go there because, a soda costs $5. So if I take one of my children or my grandchildren with me, I have two season tickets, then I buy them something while they're there as well. So two drinks is $10. If you get a sandwich or some nachos, add another $10 or $20 on top of that, and it just gets extremely expensive. So that is going to be a huge focus for me. So we will be participating in that every day that I do not spend outside of the necessities. I'll put in a no spend. I've got my Planner Kate stickers from years ago, because this is not my first rodeo show. Um, and every day that I do not have one of those types of expenses, I will put a no spend on that, and we'll see how it comes out at the end of the month. Um, I typically only put in those expenses that are an automatic draft from my account, things that I don't do anything and they just happen in my account. I don't really put any of the other things that I do during the month on this layout. I will put birthdays. I often put doctor's visits. Those will go on here. But otherwise, it's a pretty clean layout, and it's not something I refer to a whole lot. But at the beginning of the month, it's good to get my head set about when my paydays are and roughly when my expenses will come out, so I know which paycheck they belong to. I have roughed in February for the payroll, anything that I'm going to be forward on, and the expenses that I know will be coming out on that paycheck. Um, I have my variable expenses down here, and I'm still working, trying to figure out if these numbers are right. I think after the first month or two, I will probably have a good feel for whether these need to be adjusted. The first thing I know, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to adjust this to $200 per paycheck because um, I don't think $300 a month is enough for food for the household. I don't buy all of the food here, but I do buy a good portion of it. And I go to BJ's every couple months. And, when you go to BJ's, it's just a huge expense. So these numbers will probably adjust. Um, I do have an automatic draft of $50 that just comes out. I'm putting it in healthcare, but I'm likely going to add a few more sinking funds in here. Um, but it's all going to depend on this U.S. bank. So, as you all know, I'm trying to make my debt not count me. Sorry, I think my headphones cut out. Another uh, interest charge, and so I have to pay a certain amount by February 1st. Um, During this cycle, when I close this out, I don't think I'm going to hit that amount that will keep me from being charged interest in February. So likely what I will do is after I receive this paycheck and before February 10th, which is the due date, I will probably put some more on US Bank. And again, that will just avoid having interest charged for the next cycle for my credit card. So I don't know what that amount will be right now, but when I do the budget and we start getting into the end of this cycle, or at least when we get close to the 10th, I will add something in here, and then I'll decide what will happen here. So that's that. I am going to change these. This is not cash. I don't do cash. I have another account that I will deposit these sinking funds into. And again, I'm learning and my workbook is evolving based on my needs. And I believe this need to track how much sinking funds I have for each account, I think this might be getting close to what I need. For those who didn't catch the last video, I do have transaction registers that I'm also tracking them on, and so this is how I know how much healthcare has a balance of $120. So if I credit $50 here, I will just put the budget here as a quick reference, and if I've met the goal, I'll just put a check mark. And then, on my transaction registers, I do put the goal as well, just as a quick reference, so I don't have to keep going back to wherever it is in the beginning of the book. I did go ahead and put my priority goals for my sinking funds. This will allow me to justify where I'm putting the sinking funds at this stage in the development of my budget. Because ideally, I'd put something into every one of these, but I just simply can't do that right now. I don't have the proper discipline or the setup to make that happen. So what I'm doing is I know that I have an optometrist appointment coming up and I will need maybe $300 or $400 for the glasses. So that's number one. And then in March, I have an additional $2,000 that I'm going to need to pay for our summer travel plans. So I want to, I'm probably not going to get $2,000, but I want to get at least half of it in there, just so I don't have to take $2,000 out of my March or April um, paycheck to pay for that. And that's that. This is going to be the second paycheck for February. It'll be on the 14th. And I get paid this paycheck. It comes in on January 31st, but I will be using it for the first half of February's expenses. And here we go. Same thing. I have more fixed expenses at the end of the month, but if you look at the amount, it's you know, I'm loaded in the front because of the mortgage as far as the amount goes, but um, I have more as far as the number goes in the second part. Same thing holds true until I get rid of that roughly $10,000 debt on my US bank account. My main focus will always be trying to get that to a state where I'm either not using it all or I'm using it in a way that I pay it off every month. And for my whole 59 and, well, I'm almost 60. For almost 60 years, that's the way it's been. I very rarely carried a balance from one month to the next. I always budgeted my funds in a way that typically I wouldn't have to worry about carrying that balance. So I want to get back to that because I do not like this at all. And again, I did copied over this sinking fund breakdown for that second, and I don't have any more uh, paychecks coming in for the rest of the month. As I mentioned in January, if you saw that video, I'm going to go ahead and every month, even if I'm not going to contribute any money towards it, I'm going to add the emergency fund. I think this is extremely important. And this is just the 1K emergency. This is not even the real emergency account that I want to create. But I just need to get that back at least to $1,000. My checking account and my sinking funds right here. And then finally, we have my U.S. bank. Again, I will be transitioning away from actually using this. So hopefully we'll see the amount of transactions from January to February decrease. And that's pretty much it. I did add the category breakdown, and I went ahead and put in the monthly meal plan. And again, I'm breaking down how I'm spending my $400 food budget. And my challenge is not to have any dining out or civic center purchases in particular for this month. Because my food budget includes both groceries, dining out, and civic center. And I'll go back and show you that if I can find it. I think it's all the way back here. Okay. All right, there it is, groceries and dining out. So I'm just going to try and eliminate that for February for our no spend challenge. So guys, that's it for the February setup. My next video will be on February 1st, where I'll be going over the January expenses. I'll be closing it out. This will be my first real experience with closing out a month and actually looking at these things. So I'm really interested to see how that's going to play out, and I hope you join me. All right, bye.